What's going on, everyone? What we're going to try to have here is a massive 4-player game, so that hopefully we can see a bunch of different abilities with and different sorts of play styles and cards, in which we can hopefully attempt to learn some Magic this game. Everyone starts off, you have to have a minimum of 60 cards in your deck, so you'll notice 53 left, 7 in my hand is what this little symbol down here is all about. And notice they all have the same because they're computers. Oh, he went to 6. We'll get to that in a second. That means he mulliganed. She's also got 60. And everyone starts with 20 life, unless you're playing a different type of format, like Two-Headed Giant or something else where you have, or EDH, where you have different amounts of life. Going down to 0 is one way that you lose the game. So you kind of have to have something. But as long as you have one, you know, you still got a fighting chance. You still have a horse in the race. You still have a dog in the fight. Whatever, I don't need to go into all this crap. So you start with an option of 7 cards, like this guy did over here. He mulliganed down to 6, which means he didn't like his hand, so he draws a new hand, but he has to go down a card. In the arcade game, they're trying to be user-friendly, and they'll give you 1 free mulligan in this game, but as far as real Magic goes, if you don't like your first hand, you could draw a new hand of 6. If you don't like that, you draw a new hand of 5, new hand of 4. Obviously you shuffle in between each time and, you know, hope for the best, really. And what you want in your hand depends on the kind of deck that you're playing with. If you're playing a slower deck that's either more controlling based or uses a lot of more power cards that don't get out there as fast, then you want a different type of hand where something with 3 or 4 land and you see, you know, something that you're going to need later and maybe something that you can use in a couple of turns from now, but not immediately. That's going to be more of what you're going to want to get, because you know, okay, I've got the lands that I know I'll need eventually, and then I'll just have to draw everything that I'm going to want. But you don't want to take a risky hand of, you know, 1 or 2 land where it's like, well, hopefully I'll get land, otherwise I do nothing. If you have a quicker deck that uses a lot of lower cost stuff and tries to win the game as fast as possible, an aggro build is usually the term you'll hear thrown around a lot. You want to be able to physically see what your hand can do and see the curve. This is a 1-drop, or 1-drop because it takes 1 to cast. You know, 2-drop, 3-drop, and a 4-drop. So depending on what I draw, I'm at least going to have some option to do every turn and quote-unquote curve up as I progress. You know, I'll still have options, still have stuff to do. With a quicker base deck, you want to physically be able to, like, if you could lay all 7 cards of your hand down and say, this is my turn, go. You want it to physically do something and be able to see where you can progress. If the hand doesn't do anything, then you don't want it. In this case, this hand seems perfectly fine. This deck that I'm using right now is kind of in the middle of slow and fast, so it's got a nice curve, multiple drops, and more than enough land. General rule of my thumb, I pretty much never want to keep a 1-lane hand. There's still times I do, but that's because I'm way too risky. I know better, I shouldn't, because more often than not you keep a 1-lane hand, you're going to lose. But that's just the way it works. And if you play first, then you just play. If you're going second or, you know, something else, you get to draw on your first turn to make up for not having the advantage of going first. So that's just, or apparently in multiplayer you draw when you're going first also, so that's cool. Looks like I drew another Sarah's Ascendant, so there's different kinds of land depending on the colors that you're playing, and that's how you differentiate really between what's what. Plains are white, mountains are red, swamps are black, islands are blue, and forests are green. There's also colorless, which isn't, I mean, obviously it's not a color, but some stuff can just provide colorless mana. Similar into pokes, how if your poke has an attack and you need X amount of energy on it to be able to use it, your mana works the same way, except it just has its own little field. You don't have to attach it specifically, it's there and can be used. In order to use it, you just tap it for the turn, which is why ours are all turned sideways. And when she plays hers, it's not sideways. So oh, now it is now. She's casting something. So everyone casted something, so that's actually kind of really cool. But yeah, once you've tapped it and used it, it's gone for the turn. Oh, you douche! I'm not there yet, you stupid game. Let me get to it as I get to it. So now it untaps, which means now I can use it again. You can only use it once per turn. And so now I've played a second one because you can only play one per turn as well, which is why there's that whole curve thing. So now I've got 2 that's available to me. But first let's take a quick look at what everyone did. She casted this card called a Fume Spitter, who's a 1/1 creature. I think I've gone over power and toughness before, but I'll do it again. The first number displayed is their power, which is how much damage the creature will deal if it attacks or blocks or whatever. That's how much creature it has, or how much power it has available to it. And the second number, the toughness, is how much damage it takes to kill the thing. If it takes 1 point of damage, it's dead. And then it's got an ability over here, noted by the fact that there's a colon. Magic is very specific with their words and punctuation. But the ability just states that if you sacrifice it, meaning exactly what she did, she just put it in the graveyard, be like, I declare a sacrifice, blah, blah, blah. She puts a -1/-1 counter on target creature, which targeted mine of a 1/1, therefore giving it a 0 toughness, it straight up dies. So it doesn't say kill the creature, but because it puts me to 0 toughness, my creature is dead. My creature, being the best on the field at the time, has an ability called Lifelink, which says if it's expanded out, anytime this creature deals damage, you gain that much life. And then there's just a passive ability that if I had 30 or more life, it gets really, really big and gets flying. Flying being that it can go over other creatures, and you know it's harder to block is really all that comes down to. It's just an extra ability. So now it's my turn again. Oh, we haven't looked at these guys. Taunting Elf, it's a 0/1, so it doesn't deal any damage, but it has a utility that everything that must block it, or everything that can block it, must, which is pretty crazy. If she were to have a bunch of creatures out there, but attack with this elf, everything somebody has to block the elf, which does nothing. So it's pretty crazy. And then this dude, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one into your hand and one on the bottom. Blue likes stuff like this, where you get to look through cards and make decisions of, you know, what's better, what's not, stuff like that, and kind of help ramp themselves up and control the game and use card advantage. I know that's a term used in other TCGs as well, so it's familiar. Blue likes stuff like that. Green likes building up into a huge army. Black likes sacrificial stuff and just raw power and destruction. And white pretty much likes defense. Those are the general themes. Obviously that all can change, so, you know, whatever. Another general rule of thumb, which obviously I'm breaking right now, which is another reason it's coming to my mind. You often want to use all of the mana available to you each turn. Reveals equal to the number of swamps you control, you choose them, and I discard that card. Lovely, I have to discard something. I guess I'll just show you 2 planes then, so you can get rid of my planes. Generally you want to use all the mana that you have, just so that it gives you, you're using, you know, the fullest extent, because in general, the more something costs, the more powerful it's supposed to be. And so if you play all those when you can, then your next turn you can potentially play multiple littler things at once. And you always want to do as much as you can per turn. If a card does 2 effects for 1, you know, it can be called a 2 for 1. And you pretty much want those. If everything in your deck is a 2 for 1, you're going to get somewhere. So let's see what else they played. 0/4 with no abilities. It's essentially just a blocker. And a 1/1 when it comes into play, draw a card, so that's pretty cool as well. Let's see, what did I draw? I drew a land. Lovely. So now I've got 3. There's not really anything I want to put out there. I've got a Recumbent Bliss, which means target creature I put it on can't attack or block, which is awesome. And then I'll constantly gain life for it, which is awesome. This deck tries to gain a bunch of life. So looking at the field now, it would be good to put it on this thing so that it can't attack, but I'm also not really worried about it right now. I'll probably be worried about it later though. And this thing, all it does is block, and it's going to get in the way of everybody for a long time. So if that thing straight up can't block, then that's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and cast my Recumbent Bliss on the Kraken Hatchling, so that I'll be gaining life all the time, and they won't be able to block, which will be sweet. So now I'll go and attack. Actually, I'll attack black, because I'm probably more afraid of you than anyone else. Every turn there's multiple phases as they are. As you notice, hers will say main, and mine just said end. Now she's in combat, but she has no creatures. Now she has another main phase in which she can cast stuff, and after this it's going to go to her end step again. The phases are more complex and there's more of them than that, but this is just like a basic rundown. At the start of your turn, you have an upkeep phase, which some abilities and things like that trigger during the upkeep, which is essentially just a before the step, which this says at the beginning of my upkeep. So at the start of my turn, I'm going to gain a life for it. And just some stuff needs to happen during that time. It's essentially just like, okay, your turn starts, you can't do anything yet really, but that's just the start of your turn. And then you have a main phase, which you can play land, you can cast stuff, you know, kind of do your thing. Once your main phase is done, you can't cast as much. You can still cast some stuff if it's specific, but it's really just about the combat. If you have creatures, you can attack. If you don't want to, you know, whatever. And then you'll get a second main phase to do stuff after all that jazz. So we're just gonna play that. I've drawn nothing but land. This is bad. I have literally drawn nothing but land. Actually, I can't get through. Oh, I can get through over here. Because this dude can only block creatures with flying. So my guy doesn't have flying. I can get through, gain some more life because it's lifelink. So that's cool. Gaining lots of life. That's what I want to do. And different stuff will have different abilities to be used during different phases. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Underworld Dreams will deal 1 damage to him or her. So that's actually really good in a multiplayer game. All of us, everyone's going to take a damage when they draw a card. All the opponents, I should say. So that's just really cool for the rest of the game unless someone gets rid of it. Excuse me, sorry about that. And then the PCs will be, you know, attacking each other. They'll be attacking each other for a little while. And it'll make this take longer than it needs to by far, but it'll give us a wider variety of stuff as opposed to if I just played one of them. We don't really get to see anything. So, and then every card is going to really have its own thing. Obviously, every card is different for the most part. And so every card is going to have its own ability. So it's not, I don't really want to go over every card, but that's just kind of the best way to kind of get a grasp of what's going on. So they're attacking, no blocks. Alright, so this dude played something that allows him to get stuff back that he's already played. When you play a card or when a creature dies, it goes to the graveyard, which is just a zone for stuff that's been used. And this just allows him to pick something and get it back to his hand, which is kind of cool. So yeah, you'll notice there that before this thing switched to main, this had a little swirly thing on it, and they took a damage for drawing the card. Equipment is kind of cool. You can literally equip it to a creature and grant its abilities for a cost. Actually, next time we get to a spell, I'll have to note, wow, 2 equipment in the same turn. That's something, I guess. Alright, you attacking anyone? You're attacking her, that's fine. Attack her. You can all duke it out. That's another reason. I figured with multiple computers, no one's going to pick on me for a while. So, lovely. I still am doing absolutely nothing with my hands. This is great. Because, you know, I don't want to do anything at all, ever. I'm just going to pass the turn. I have no one do it. Oh, no, I could have attacked her. Ah, mistake. I can't see all the way over there. Alright, so cast a spell so I can talk about instants and sorceries. Or just don't cast anything because you suck. Somebody cast a spell. Ugh, fine, don't. There, see, it says start. Which is untap, upkeep, draw, and then main phase 1. There we go, a spell. Notice that this says sorcery. Some things will say creature, some things will say land, some will say artifact, enchantment, tribal. What else is there? I know there's 7 things. Artifact, instant, sorcery, land, tribal, creature, enchant. Did I say enchantment? I forget that time. Whatever. There's 7 different things. A sorcery is a spell that you can only cast during your main phase, and stuff like creatures and artifacts and enchantments and whatever, as it says, artifact, yay, those all act as sorceries. You can only cast them during your turn. You can't just start laying stuff down whenever the hell you want. Some spells, when we get to it, they're called an instant, which I thought that was an instant, and it's not. Does anyone have an instant in here? No, nobody has any instants yet. But, excuse me, yawning. But an instant can be cast at essentially, there we go, an instant. Destroy target creature, which is pretty awesome. Instants just mean they happen instantaneously. They resolve. When somebody casts an instant, it goes onto what this thing is called the stack, which I'll get more to that later once multiple things start happening in a turn. But you can cast them at any time during someone else's turn. You can cast them during the combat step, during the main phase, you know, during someone's upkeep if you want to, things like that. So that's kind of sweet. And I mentioned that there's this thing in Magic called a stack. And some things in Magic, they work out simplistically. Like, so far, everything in this game has been really basic, which is good, in a way. That's what we want. But some things can work out more complex, in which multiple things are going on at once, and it's extremely strategic at times if you want it to be. So, what that means is that when somebody casts an instant or a sorcery or whatever, it goes on this quote-unquote stack, which literally means that, like, in the paper game, you lay it down on the table, you know, you ask your opponent if he has a response or whatever, and if somebody wants to do something about that before the card finishes, then they can cast another spell, an instant, and you literally will put it on top of the card that they just cast, and you know, everybody can keep casting more stuff and more stuff and more stuff, and everything just keeps going on top, layer by layer. Imagine, like, you know, a bunch of kids are playing baseball at the park and you try and decide who's batting first. You know, the kids are just gonna, one way that they do it is they put hands over each other until they get to the top of the bat, and then they're holding the bat with just a little bit, and you have to swing it around your head 3 times, you know, see if you can maintain control. I think that's in Sandbox too, and pretty much everyone's seen, or the Sandlot, sorry. And everyone's seen that movie just about. Apparently I haven't, though. Lovely. That's a creature I do not want to see exist, but unfortunately it does right now. I'll get to its abilities in a second, don't worry. Now I forget what my train of thought was. Oh yeah, with the stack, and everything just kind of goes on top of each other. And then when nobody has any more responses, you pick up the card that was on top of the stack, and whatever it says, you resolve that ability first. And then you resolve the next one, and then the next one. So if something is going on, like... Okay, he returns that to his hand. I don't know, I want like a specific example so I can attach stuff to it. But so I guess we'll just get to that later, but know it exists. Holy crap, everyone's like almost dead. How did this happen? You're at 4, you're at 9. Oh, what are you doing? You're attacking me? Alright, do I want to do something just for kicks? Yeah, let's... No. We'll just get hit, I don't care. You can hit me. No blocks, skip blocking. We'll get to that stuff later. And she's dead. She's just straight up going. Awesome, I just drew Day of Judgment. Destroy all creatures when I cast it, which is kind of sweet. But I still haven't drawn a single thing that I actually want to do. I am so glad this is not a real game, because I would have done nothing. Yeah, oh, let's look at this card again. She's got Death Touch. She's also nice and shiny, but that's just, you know, it's a foil, it's a hologram, whatever, who cares about it. 3/6, so she's probably the biggest creature we've seen on the field yet. Death Touch means that any time she is responsible for dealing damage to a creature, that creature is going to die regardless of the power and toughness. So just if something has to fight with it, it's dead. It's going to die at the end of the turn. At the end of everything resolves, it's going to die. And she's got an ability that means 1 black and 2 other. It could be colorless. You could pay white mana for it. You could pay red mana for it. You could pay purple mana for it. It doesn't exist, but you could name it if you need to, if you have something that says so. So people either say colorless or they'll say other. So for a total cost of 3. So if you tap 3 land and you tap her, she'll do, you know, whatever this ability says, which means blah blah blah, put a counter on a creature, the creature gains Defender, it becomes colorless, and an artifact, and you can't pay its abilities. So that's actually kind of significant, I think. So you got a bunch of blockers and a bunch of nothing, so I'm just going to ignore that. Pass on my turn. I have done nothing. This is boring. Oh, you're gonna bounce something. What are you bouncing? You're bouncing... Oh, sweet, you're bouncing that. That's cool. Oh, I guess okay, so that creature that she just bounced, let's take a look at it. once I'm assuming she's going to recast. Oh, now she can't. She can't oh, yes, she can. There you go. Okay, so this petrification counter thing, it gives defender. Defender means the target creature can't attack. It can just block. It's a wall. If she were to, in theory, try to put that on a creature, one of this dude's things, he would have been able to... Sorry, I have to sneeze. Crap, I forgot to cast this. There we go, now I'll cast this. Just to kill it. This is destroy target attacking creature and I gain life for it. Yay! Now I'm up to 28. I'm almost at 30. And 30 means I'll have a really big creature on the field. If she were to try and put a petrification counter on something, this player could, in theory, because then the ability of the petrification counter goes on the stack, and then she could cast this instant which says return target permanent to its owner's hand. She could actually bounce the creature that's going to get the petrification counter to her hand first, because it'll go on the stack second. And then it'll go back to her hand, and then the counter goes on nothing. It just fizzles, and nothing happens for it. So something like that probably wouldn't take place, but oh no, you're gonna hit me and I'm gonna lose a life. Oh well. I'm trying to get 30. Ugh! I needed more mana so I could kill it. Although he would have just made it hexproof, actually. Yay, something to do. A crappy creature. Hey, sweet, now I'm at 30, now I have a beat stick. Alright, now that I'm at 30, let's just attack somebody. Let's attack you. I don't like you. No, you hit me, so you're getting hit in the face. Now I forget my train of thought again. Something about how the stack works, I guess. Oh, yeah, that's right. This little course of action, like if they were to put a counter on it, he could bounce it to his hand. It wouldn't take place, but it could in theory, just to resolve how the stack works. Okay, see, right there, that was actually retarded what this person did. Put a petrification counter on the creature, which is fine. This dude has an equipment that says you can tap 2, target creature gains hexproof until end of turn. Hexproof is an ability that means no opponents can target it, like no spells, no abilities, nothing like that. Only the player can target it. So with the petrification counter on the stack, he has 5 mana available. He could have tapped 2 to give the creature hexproof, and that ability would go on the stack above the petrification counter. It would resolve, and then it would be unable to be targeted, and thus the petrification counter would not go on it. It would have no valid target because of the hexproof. So that's something that actually could have happened, but the computer is stupid. So he just lost a creature for nothing. So shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't. Way to go, stupid opponent. But it looks like he's gonna die real soon because of Underworld Dreams anyway. And then it's just gonna be us two. So once people get down to 0 life, they die. There's a couple really, I've drawn nothing but kill stuff. Boring. Whatever. There's multiple ways to die. You can die by going down to 0 or less. You can die by... Yeah, I'm at 40 life. You can die by having your library, which is your deck, the term for your deck. Notice I've got 44 cards left. If I had 0 and it was my turn, I have to draw for a turn, and I can't draw the card, I lose. You don't lose for having 0. You lose if you are told to draw a card and you cannot draw a card. Oh, what's going on? What are you doing? You're putting a counter on my thing. And there's not really anything I can do about that. Oh well. Nothing I can do. So you can lose from that. There's also a creature mechanic called Infect, which means it deals damage in the form of 1/1 counters as opposed to just raw damage. And if a player gets 10 Infect counters, they're dead. There's also Poison counters, which was an old mechanic. Infect was kind of the new version of Poison that they made it a lot better. If you get 10 Poison counters, you're dead. Actually, no, those are the same, actually. Infect and Poison are the same counters. They just, the combat works differently. Sweet, look at this. I could actually kill her this turn if I wanted to. So you know what, let's how do I want to do this? You know what, yeah, let's just kill her, I don't care. You can also lose by stuff that says you lose the game. There's some cards that have that context on it. There's also some context that says you win the game, and thus your opponent would lose the game because you just straight up win. So stuff like that. Let's go to a 1v1 just to see if we can get something more interesting to happen. Actually, custom free-for-all. I don't want to use Celestial Light because that's boring as dirt. Let's use... Sure, let's use black, and you can use... Yeah, you can use green. We'll see how this goes. Alright, so let's take a look at this hand. This is a little bit of a different deck. So let's see. I got a 4-drop. I got another 4-drop. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can see that. 4, 4, 2, and 1. No creature. Well, I get those guys are creatures actually. I consider them removal. You're not removal. You deal. Okay, deal to the player. But it is a slightly slower deck that I have, and I've got a good curve, so I'll keep it. That's fine. Let's just take a closer look at what exactly is here. This is an enchantment. I can put it on a creature. It gets -1/-1, and can't block. So I'll pretty much put it on something of his so I can kill it with. Of course, he doesn't have a 1-drop, so go figure. And then looking at, now I have 2 out there, so I can cast this thing. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. So this is what black likes to do. They like to suicidally, you know, cast some powerful stuff to get there. Drawing cards is awesome. It gives you an advantage. The more cards you have over your opponent, the more options and abilities you can exert over them. The more control you're likely to have. So I lose 2 life for it, but that's a small price to pay. If he happened to be at 2 life, I could actually cast it on him and kill him with it if I wanted, but you know, whatever. He's casting a sorcery. Search your library for a forest and put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. Stuff like that's actually really good, because obviously it ramps him up. So now on turn 2, he has 3 land out there. So he's ramping up. He's able to get higher cost things before he otherwise would be able to. Meanwhile, I'm still sitting around doing nothing. And crap, if I cast this, I'm gonna have to discard, and I don't want to do that. So I'll just sit and do nothing. It also pulls the land out of his deck, which means he has a lower proportion to draw land. And you usually don't want to draw it. Obviously, you need to draw some, but oh, figures, a stupid hexproof. I can't deal with it. That's actually really annoying. That's actually really annoying. So stuff like this is really good. It pulls out, it thins your deck, it ramps you up, it does a lot of good stuff like that. Yeah, I can't kill it, so I'm just gonna have to... Well, that sucks. I guess I'll just cast you first. Yay, I have a thinning of my own. When she enters the battlefield, you can get a swamp, put it into your hand, which isn't as good as the battlefield, obviously, but... And she has an ability where you can pay a swamp, and you can do it unlimited times. There's not a limit on it. She gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So that's actually really cool. If I wanted to tap 5 land, I could make her +5/+5 for the turn, which is going to be my response to that guy. Not this turn, of course, but eventually. And now you're just playing all sorts of stuff. Yeah, because he ramped up a lot, he's got lots of mana, and now he can do lots of things at once, which is... That's what green is supposed to do, really. I can't block yet, so I'll just take that hit. And... Any other things that I really wanted to get through? Let's do this. This guy is awesome. When he comes into play, he destroys a target non-artifact, non-black creature, and it can be regenerated. Regenerate is an ability where if you pay its cost and the creature dies, it doesn't die. Like it gets to stay there, which is really cool. And this just says if it can regenerate, you're not allowed to use it anymore for that turn. So that's sweet. You kill something, it actually kills it. First Strike is a really powerful ability that says in combat, the damage that my creature is going to do is going to resolve first. Normally all damage resolves at the same time. You know, Newton's law, when a force hits something, an equal and opposite force is going to bounce off of it. With first strike, that's not going to be the case. Obviously in this instance, it's going to play out the same. But what it's going to mean is that my 2 damage will be dealt first. See, as you can see there, it went, oh, well, it went to 1, and then it just kept going as opposed to letting me pause it. But it went to 1, meaning my creature did his 2 damage first. So if that 2 damage would have been enough to kill this guy, even though his power is enough to kill mine, with my first strike killing him first, I would have still been alive. So unfortunately it didn't happen, but whatever. So let's see, where are we now? I can cast 2 things at once, so I'll cast Sign in Blood first on myself and draw some more cards. So first strike's really powerful that way. It can definitely turn the tide of combat. I'll just cast this bat then. And if you have multiple creatures with first strike, you can have multiple creatures block one guy, and all of that first strike happens first. So it's just really powerful that way. It allows you to help control the way combat works. It gives you power over the battlefield. So first strike is really powerful. This guy is kind of boring. Sacrifice him, gain 4 life. Big deal. Whatever. What's this guy have? He's got flying. Okay, that's not an ability, it's just an effect that gets triggered. Sweet. Okay, so flying is cool. Now we'll get to get a first-hand experience of flying. Even though he's a 2/2, he could block and both of our creatures die, but because I'm flying, he's unable to block me. Like, it's pretty hard to catch a bird. Like, I don't know how cats do it. I have cats of my own, but I don't know how they actually catch something that's flying through the air like that. It's pretty tough for a little boar to go hunting after something. And then let's look at what else I could possibly want to do. Nothing I really want to do right now. So I'm just actually going to sit. I like to play pretty defensive, so I'll wait. There's no need for me to do anything else at the moment. It's going to attack. I honestly really don't care. A lot of players who I've been playing for about 17, 18 years, even though I'm only 22 right now. I've been playing for a long freaking time. So I'm very comfortable taking a lot of damage. I have no problem being at 5 life. Even if my opponent's at 25 and I'm at 5, I'm perfectly comfortable. It all just depends on the situation. I still don't really have anything I want to do, so I'm just gonna sit. So like, I don't feel like, even though I could kill that thing if I want to, I'm just gonna wait for something that's more threatening. Green is all about playing like really big stuff as fast as possible, so I know something more threatening is going to hit the table if he stops drawing land. Ironically, he doesn't have that yet. But okay, with that, however, I'll explain in a second why I'm doing what I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to kill that first before the Lightning Greaves resolves. Because what Lightning Greaves does is equipped creature has Shroud and Haste. I don't really care about the Haste. Haste just means that a creature can attack the turn it comes into the field or use any activated abilities, and that's fine. And the equipped cost is free, which is really powerful. But it's the Shroud part that I wanted to get rid of. Like how Hexproof means that your opponents can't do anything, Shroud is anybody. Nobody can target it. And while the creature's not important, because he has 0 cards in his hand that I can see up here, I know that he has absolutely nothing else in his hand that he can possibly do. So I want to get rid of that thing before he gives it Shroud, and it just completely clears his board. He literally has nothing on his board right now, so it's pretty much just he's getting rolled in the face, which is awesome. Notice how this creature can attack and this one can't. That's that summoning sickness thing. So if Lightning Greaves were to be equipped to this guy, he would have haste, and thus he would be able to attack. But he can't. Whatever. Alright, this guy, when he enters the battlefield, destroy an artifact or enchantment. It doesn't say may. Sometimes things will say you may do this, and sometimes things just say this happens. and because it's one of those this happens, he's forced to target the only thing on the field even though it's his. So that's why he blew up his own thing. He certainly didn't want to do it, I'm sure, but... Alright, how do I want to kill that? Alright, I'll just kill it with this. Yay! And then let's take a gander at this guy's ability. I'll pay it 2 times, pay the 4 mana, give him +2/+2. Yay! Alright, so I didn't really explain what I'm doing right there, but hopefully you guys could figure it out. It's not too complex. The game itself is simple. Where it gets complex is when a lot of different stuff is happening all at once, and it gets complex in how you want to plan your strategy out and why. That's where the complexity really comes from. So, let's see, what else do I have in my hand? Nothing I really want to do. I could deal this for 9 points and gain 9 life, but I think I'll just pay this guy's ability. I'll tap 2 land to give him +1, and I'll do it 4 times. So I tap 8 mana. He gets really big. I'll proceed to my combat step. I'll swing in for 8 points. He has no block and no responses. He takes the 8 points, goes down to 5. I'll skip my second main, just pass the turn. So, I was really hoping you would do more, Garrick. 12 mana? Really? Really? You get, that's like what I get, just 12 mana and no cards. How many cards did you get? Yeah, that sucks. So that's actually really unfortunate. And he pulled 2 of them out, no less. I guess there's no need to do it. I'll kill you with a spell because it's fun. Alright, so I don't really know how much more I can accomplish just playing the computer. Anything more to... Yeah, unlock the cards. Sweet, he's a good card. I guess anything more specific to address as far as teaching how to play is just going to be specific scenarios and how things play out. Hopefully I got the basics through in time. I honestly have no idea how long this video is going to be at the moment. I just see a bunch of things, a bunch of files having been recorded and put out there. So, any questions you guys have, absolutely leave a comment. Like, that's the whole point. I can certainly answer any rule question or any, gameplay question with a comment on any one of my videos. I have zero problem doing that. Just make sure that if it's related to something specific that's happened, put the timestamp in the comment itself. If it happens at, 5:30, put a 5:30 space in your comment, and then it'll actually leave a tag for the rest of the people that they can click on that 5:30 and go to that time in the video. So, just do that if you have a question on something, and I'll answer that as well. If I ended up doing a really bad job of this and people are like, hey, you forgot to say this or forgot to say this or whatever, I'll probably just redo it. When I did my Learn to Play Chess video, I did that twice because I forgot a lot of important stuff, so I just redid it. But a lot of this stuff with Magic is really just specific scenarios, is really how it all boils down. Come on, update. Oh, 123, that sucks. Whatever. So, at least with stuff like that, with specific abilities and specific, whatever, I can do that during gameplay itself, like in the middle of a gameplay vid, when I'm beating up some scrub. Like, that's not a problem. But as far as getting to it in a Learn to Play, hopefully I did a decent enough job. But that'll be for you guys to let me know. If it sucked, I'll redo it. So, anyway, guys, hopefully you've got a better understanding of how Magic works now. And I guess that's really all we're going to get to. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know any comments, concerns, questions, feedback you have. And take it easy. Peace. You know what? I actually had an idea. I know I briefly clicked through this how to play thing in my first introductory video. But let's see if there's... Okay, mana cost, I know I went over that. Power toughness, I went over that. Type tells you the card types. Like I said, artifact, enchantment, land, creature. Now I forget everything. Oh yeah, instant, sorcery, tribal, planeswalker. That's the other one. There's 8, not 7. I'm stupid. So yeah, all the different stuff. There's differences between activated abilities and triggered abilities, but that's another time and day. Yeah, some stuff is permanent. Obviously the spells were not. They went to the graveyard after we cast them. Instants can be cast at any time in response to actions. It can go on the stack. Yay. Sorceries have to be specifically cast. Combat, you tap, you target. Is that Japanese? That looks, because it's sideways, it looks like Japanese Terra Stomper. I have a lot of foreign cards, so I can... Yeah, no, it's okay, it's English. It's just fuzzy because it's sideways and bad resolution, but it makes it look like it's a Japanese Terra Stomper. Sorry. So yeah, when you tap stuff, that's how you declare that something's being used. Yay. Creatures, oh yeah, creatures don't block, or creatures don't tap when they block. A lot of new players think that for some reason. I'm not sure how or why, but a lot of people do. Oh, I'm gonna block, and then they tap their creature. It's like, no, you don't actually tap it. So yay. Creature with summoning sickness can block, they just can't attack. Then they trade damage, yada yada yada. I know we went over that. Lots of colors, blah blah blah. This is their general thing of what they're all about, but we kind of talked about that already. Stop, move over one at a time. This is just a picture of various different abilities. Annihilator, which I don't think this game has Annihilator right now. It'll probably be included in expansion packs. Battle Cry, Exalted, Haste, Trample, Vigilance, there's all sorts of stuff. I don't think I really want to talk, screw it. Annihilator means when the creature attacks, whatever its Annihilator is, the player he's attacking must sacrifice that many permanents of their choice. So that's actually really powerful. Battle Cry is, if the creature with Battle Cry is attacking, every other creature that's also attacking gets +1 to their power boost for the attack. So just get some extra damage in there. Exalted, I know I've talked about, but that was a different video. So if a creature, or if a person has like a bunch of Exalted stuff out there, and only one creature attacks, then everything that has Exalted will give that attacking creature +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's kind of cool in that way, but I also kind of don't like it. Haste, I know we went over, means you were unaffected by summoning sickness. Trample, oh that's right, I forgot to talk about Trample when I played the green guy. I was hoping he would do Trample and Regenerate, but he didn't. Trample just means that if he's attacking with something and I block with something, whatever the toughness to power difference is going to be, if he has a 5/5 and I have a 2/2, it's going to deal the 2 damage to my creature, but then the leftover 3 damage is going to trample through to the player and I'm still going to get hit by it. So that's what Trample does. It's kind of cool. It's for really big fat stuff. Vigilance means that when you attack, you don't tap, which allows you to still activate abilities or block on their turn because you didn't tap for it. If you tap, then you're spent. So Vigilance is kind of cool that way. It's very defensive. Fear is very rarely seen. A creature with Fear can only get blocked by artifact creatures, or no, sorry, by black creatures and creatures... Fear, so I'm mixing up Fear and Intimidate. Intimidate's a lot newer. Fear is black and artifact. Intimidate is whatever color the creature is and artifact. But ironically, it's almost always on black creatures, so it's kind of stupid. Flying we've gone over. Shadow is very, very rare. They only really did that in the Tempest block, I believe. Shadow just means that it can't be blocked unless it's blocked by something with Shadow, and you can't block something unless it has Shadow as well, so it's kind of dumb. Defender, we've gone over that. It's just a wall. Hexproof, the opponents can't target it. Indestructible means you cannot destroy it. Anything like damage won't kill it. If it goes to 0 toughness, it stays there. If something says destroy target permanent, it stays there. You have to exile it or return it to hand or something like that. Reach means that a creature without flying can block a creature with flying. So when we talked about flying, that little boar versus my bat, if the boar had reach, it would have been able to block, but it didn't. Spiders have reach a lot. Shroud, spells and abilities can't target it. Death Touch we went over. We went over First Strike, where the combat damage will be dealt first. Double Strike is extra sweet, because Double Strike will deal First Strike damage, and then the First Strike will resolve, and then it will have a regular strike in addition to it. So I like how the pictures work, like here's 1 and then here's 2. So you literally strike first and one of them strikes first. Or you literally strike twice and one of them strikes first. So that's really cool. Life Leak we went over. poison is just from creatures with infect, but there are no infect in this game at the moment. I don't think. I haven't seen one yet. Doesn't untap, that's just some random abilities. Changeling, that's not important. Fading, that's not important. Legendary. If a creature is legendary or a permanent is legendary, only one of it can exist on the battlefield at one time. So if somebody else tries to cast another of the exact same card, they both die. So that's kind of cool. Legendary stuff is usually more popular, or usually more powerful as well, because you don't want to have too many of it, because then you can't do everything with them. Unblockable is pretty obvious, you can't block it. Planeswalk, Island Walk, Swamp Walk, Mountain Walk, Forest Walk means that if the opponent controls a plains or island or swamp or mountain or forest, it's unblockable. They walk over it. Damage prevention, that's not really an ability. Regenerate, we talked about regenerate. Totem armor, it's actually kind of stupid and it's very rare, so I'm not going to bother with it. And undying is also really specific. If a creature dies, it can come back into play immediately with a +1/+1 counter, unless it has a +1/+1 counter on it already. But that's kind of, it doesn't. There's not too much stuff with undying, so I can get to these when we get there if it's complex. Protection is actually really sweet. Protection from white, blue, black, red, green. It means that if you're protection from white, you cannot be the target of white spells or abilities. You cannot be blocked by white creatures. And if you block a white creature or take damage from a white source, all of that damage is prevented and you take nothing. So you're invulnerable to white or blue or black or whatever, or artifact or enchantment or land or protection from everything if you're Progenitus, because he's really dumb. Let's see. In-game hint system. I don't care about in-game hint system. Mulligans. We talked about mulligans. Oh, look, you have a different hand of less cards. That really sucks. The stack. Yeah, see, this is how... So, like, first somebody cast Runeclaw Bear. Or had a Runeclaw Bear out there. And then he casted a couple of spells, and then this guy put the cancel on top of it. So the cancel will remove the giant growth by countering it, which only leaves the Primal Bellow left onto the bear. So that's just how it works. It goes in reverse order. Two-headed giant. You know, I wanted to make two-headed giant videos, but because of the life gain deck, two-headed giant is stupid. Plane chase, we don't care about plane chase. That's just a visual lifelink. Blocking, you can block with multiple creatures. You can't choose how you attack. You can't say, I attack that creature. You just straight up attack. Creatures can choose to block if they want. So, let's see. Trample. I'll be up there. See? 8 and 2. Remaining 6 to player. Yay. Flying. We've gone over that. Activated abilities. If it has a colon or a tap symbol, it's an activation. You just pay the cost and whatever the ability says happens. The ability goes on the stack though. Double strike and first strike, yay! Once at the same time as creatures with first strike, and again with normal damage. Equipment. Equipment works as a sorcery. You can only cast it. You can only equip during your main phase, and it goes on the stack and can be responded to in advance. Equipped creatures drop their gear when they die. If a creature is equipped with something, you can also pay the equipment cost to equip it to something else. If you want to, and you can only equip your creatures. Regenerates, you just pay the green to keep him from dying. If a creature has to regenerate though, and he uses his regeneration to save himself from dying, it does tap him. That was seen in, which challenge was it? I think challenge 4, Stolen Goods, I think. Protection, yeah, we've talked about protection. Can't enchant, can't target, can't damage, can't block, because it's protection from black. So that's sweet. Death Touch just means that it's dead, regardless. And that's all that this thing says to know how to play, and I covered all of this already myself, so I guess if that's all Wizards wants to tell you, then that's all I need to tell you as well. So anything else, we'll get to it specifically. This game does have a tutorial if you want to play, but it's really boring and really basic. I thought about just playing the tutorial for a video, but it's like even worse. At least it's quicker, but it's worse. Yay. And okay, so now that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Excuse me. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you later. Peace.